In this episode, we're going to sadly be winterizing our 2006 Meridian 341 for the 2020 season. This year I was going to try something new and put to use my new compressor to winterize the freshwater system. What I first did was drain out all the fresh water from the system using the regular water pump and through the faucets and sinks to get out as much water as I possibly can. On the Meridian 341, there's this crossover pipe that connects the two water tanks, and my particular boat had a fitting to drain that pipe right in the center that will drain right into the bilge. So I drained out all of that fresh water to make sure we got as much water out of the tanks as possible. Once all the water was drained out of the pipe, reinstalled the plug, and then disconnected the lines going to the water pump, as I wanted to get all the water that was sitting in the pump also. This was a good opportunity to also remove and clean the filter screen that's attached to the pump. It's a little difficult to get to in my boat, as the pump is sandwiched between the freshwater tank and one of the exhaust mufflers. I used an oil filter wrench to loosen the filter, and then it was easy enough to unscrew and pull out the disgusting filter screen, which I believe should have been cleaned a while ago, but here we are. Big difference. Once the filter was cleaned, reinstallation was fairly simple. I didn't use a wrench to tighten it, I just hand tightened it, as it does have a rubber O-ring gasket to keep it from leaking. I then reattached the water hoses coming from the tank to the filter and the pumps, and moved on to the next step. Before going any further, you want to make sure you drain your hot water tank. Open up the drain valve and just crack open the pressure relief valve to let air into the tank, and the water will flow out easily. While that's draining, you'll need to bypass the water inlet and outlet connections so that you don't flow any air into the tank itself and push more water into it. The shark bite fittings are a little difficult to disconnect, but using a wrench or just your fingers and pushing and tugging on the hose should release the pipe from the fitting. You do that to both sides and then connect both the cold water and hot water lines together using the shark bite fittings. You don't have to purchase any bypass kit. This is an easy, $0 method. Unfortunately, I didn't get a video of the two hoses being connected at this point, as my battery ran dead, but you get the point. I poured 1 gallon of the pink antifreeze into the water tank just to purge out any remaining water that may be sitting in the hose and also in the tank itself. After pouring in this 1 gallon of pink antifreeze, I did turn on the boat's water pump for a few seconds just to flow the pink stuff through the pump itself to purge out any remaining water, just to be on the safe side. This year I was going to try something new. I've never used a compressor to winterize the freshwater system in its entirety on a boat, so this was the first time for me. I have a 2-gallon air compressor which I picked up for other purposes, and I figured I'd give it a shot with this winterization. I hooked up the hose to the regular city water inlet on the boat and used an on-off valve to help facilitate the process. Don't set the pressure on the compressor to more than 40 psi. Once the city water inlet is pressurized, it's now a process of going from fixture to fixture, opening the valves, and flushing out all the water. Once all the water is out, you should just hear air coming out of the hoses and faucets. I did the washdown of the swim platform. Make sure you don't forget the freshwater washdown by the anchor locker, if you have one. And then I went indoors, lifted up the pump handle for the toilet to purge all the water out of the toilet itself, and then moved on to the sink and the shower inside the head. Make sure you purge both the hot and cold sides of all the faucets that have both temperatures. The shower head actually took the longest to purge out. I actually did a couple runs of it. There's a lot of line behind the wall heading up to the faucet head, and then also in the line itself to the shower head. The 2-gallon compressor I use is a bit small, and you would have to wait every so often for the pressure in the tank to build up again as you move from faucet to faucet. Slow down the process a little bit. My boat originally came with an ice maker up on the bridge. I had since replaced that with a regular AC/DC refrigerator, but the old water line is still up there and capped. You need to make sure you purge out any lines going to your ice makers or any lines that are left over in the boat that are not connected to any devices. I made a nice little access panel that I could easily pull the line out and unscrew the cap and have the water and air purged through at this point. I had planned to disconnect this line down in the bilge so I don't have to go through this step every year, but also I was thinking about adding a wet sink, a wet bar sink, up on the bridge in the future. So I'm going to keep this line where it is for now. Once all the water was purged, I reinstalled the cap and put the hose back in its hiding place. Once all the water is purged out of the lines, you want to go around to all the drains and put some pink antifreeze through the drain to purge out any water sitting in traps. Pay special attention to the shower sump and make sure you get enough pink antifreeze down in the sump so that purges out any water also. Also, don't forget your toilet heads. You want to make sure you get enough pink stuff through this toilet, flush through the vacuum flush system and into the waste tank. The last thing you need in the spring is a split hose or a cracked fitting on a waste tank system. So make sure you use enough of the pink stuff here. So that's it. That concludes our freshwater winterization process using the compressor. This was the first time I actually used the compressor, and I didn't know what to expect. It was a lot of work, a lot of running around between different faucets and fittings. And to tell you the truth, for the 6 or so gallons of pink antifreeze that it may have saved, I don't really know if the extra hassle was worth it. We'll see. Next year I'll be doing this all over again, but I'll have to reevaluate if that's the best method or not. I never had a problem using just pink antifreeze, and it's been fail-safe, and I've never had an issue with any of my boats I've winterized over the past 30 years. So, it's all up to you. If you have any other suggestions, leave them in the comments, and please like and subscribe the videos. Thanks for watching.